So that's those two games. And we've all played Firewatch.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time we've all played a game. Have we all beaten it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Firewatch. If you haven't beaten Firewatch and you're listening to this, maybe pause it. Maybe wait until you've played it. Or if you don't care, keep listening. There's probably going to be spoilers.
It's like, what is it, 4 hours long? Maybe?
Yeah, it's real short.
It's super short. And it's been like a month, right, since it's been out. So
Yeah.
come on.
Just so fair warning, though.
Yeah.
We're going to probably spoil some stuff. So, what did you guys think, Severn? This is definitely not the kind of game that most people would associate with you.
Oh,
Because
There were no cars.
Because
no cars, no shooting, no drugs.
Well, you do get into a car at the start.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where it hooked you, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You
Yeah.
go through that parking lot, you're like, damn, that car.
Yeah.
That's a car right there.
I actually followed the game a little bit just through the Idle Thumbs guys.
Yep.
And I heard it, you hear about the game, you see all the monsters attached to it.
Yeah.
The art style comes out. I think they just did a really good job getting it out to people like us.
Mm.
And I just love the art style, and it was a story-heavy game from a small company too.
It's funny because I get the feeling that it's like a game almost made for developers. Like it was marketed almost to game developers.
Yeah.
Because I have friends that are pretty hardcore gamers, and none of them played Firewatch or even were looking forward to it. But every game developer I spoke to was like, Firewatch is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because it seemed there was very, very little promotion out there. And it was also the game I was most excited about from last E3.
Yeah.
Dude, do you want to talk about your arc, like with the game? Like, did you have an emotional arc? For me, the way it established you as that character,
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic, just through text.
Yeah, it hit me like Up.
Yep.
The first 10 minutes of Up.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh.
where you get... Yeah.
I was
It's
like,
super
hit
sad.
you up? Hit you up for cash?
Hit me up.
Yo, bro, can I borrow
I was
some?
mugged.
I really like the way they did it. It was pure imagination.
Well, yeah, so the very opening in which you're basically determining your origin story shows no visuals, it's just all text, but it's written in such a way that the choices it gives you really hit you quite hard, and they make you really... You sit there and you go, oh, man.
Yeah, it kind of shows you what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
It's great like that.
Sure.
Made me feel like a real dick.
What did you do?
I
What did you pick?
put her in a home.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I did too. Yeah, I think I did too.
And I think I visited and
Because
stuff, but
those were the two options, right? Put her in a home or look after her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put her in a home.
yeah. So
Jeez.
I had also last year or the year before I had watched a Louis Theroux documentary about Alzheimer's
Oh, right.
and dementia,
Yeah.
and in particular they show some early onset Alzheimer's patients.
Yeah.
And it is heartbreaking. It is really, really upsetting. And so, and these people, like, there's this really lovely, in this documentary, there's this really lovely woman who's married. She was a secretary for a dentist,
Okay.
and they fell in love, and they were married for years and years and years. And then this guy is in his like 60s, maybe like early 60s. So not like super Alzheimer's-y, dementia-y age. He's still pretty youthful, but he doesn't remember marrying her. Thinks they're just friends. So she couldn't keep taking care of him. So she put him in this like place that specializes in Alzheimer's patients. And, because he doesn't remember really being married to her, he's got these like special friends in the retirement village, and she visits him, and she can see that like these weird relationships going on.
Oh, weird.
And it's really heartbreaking for her. And so eventually she files for divorce, and it's just
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do?
And that's the
Yeah.
question they give you.
I think I think too, just the idea of for them to pick Alzheimer's as the disease that
Yes.
because going into it I was like, you could kind of tell that something bad was going to happen, and you thought, well, it's going to be cancer, right? Like, she's going to get cancer, she's going to die, and it's going to be sad. But this is actually worse.
A very interesting choice,
Yeah.
because the wife is still alive. She's just not necessarily your wife anymore
Yeah.
in any like emotional sense for her, and that makes it very hard for him. that this is what it's always. I think it's one of the sort of truisms people say that Alzheimer's is much harder for the people around the sufferer than the sufferer, because the sufferer doesn't really know what's.
No,
as far as they're aware, they're just in their bubble.
Yeah,
it's the people around them who start getting forgotten. And
so I chose to look after her.
Okay,
yeah,
that's interesting. So okay,
yeah, and you'd go out, you go to a bar, you're thinking about it. You're completely isolated because you're looking after this person. It gets to a point where the parents come over, you're just stressed, you can't deal with it. The parents come over, they take her back
to Australia.
Yeah, her parents take her back, and that's how that was me going into the watch, the lookout.
That's kind of interesting, because it sort of does end up in the same situation.
Yes,
because I think the home that you send her to is in Australia.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's one of the clever tricks this game pulls, and I think the writers had done this previously for some of the Telltale games. There's sort of this false choice where you're given these options, but they look like forking paths, but they all sort of reconverge.
Were the so you send it to a home in Australia? Is that because of the parents? Because the parents are close by? Why?
I think that was the reason for it. I don't exactly remember, but I do remember them.
It's near family and friends of hers.
Yeah.
That's weird, because you're established in America. Wouldn't you want to be close to your partner?
Yeah, but
maybe is that?
Well, I mean, true, but
also her family
is in Australia, so you send her.
Is your character really stressed out at this point?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's the same amount of stress where it's like, and you just get to that point where you're like, okay, should I continue looking after her? And it just depends on how you feel.
Yeah, the level of guilt that you as a player experience is different.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true. I felt like I remember because while this is happening, it's being like intercut with actual gameplay of you walking through the forest and getting to the thing.
Yep.
And after that, I think that you see the deer at that point, like the first time you see some wildlife. I was just standing there like, oh man, I was
so upset.
Yeah, and just like
kicking yourself.
Yeah, kind of just like, did I do the right thing? Oh man, I just felt terrible.
Yeah.
It was, and I was just staring at the forest, being like.
So this is, I think, one of the biggest strengths of this game, despite the fact that there's a lot of like illusions of choice. The choices that you make affect you as a player. Maybe they don't affect the character so much, but they affect how you are perceiving the information that you're getting. And I think that's really interesting. So what did you think of the game overall, Severin? Because it's not this. I mean, it's not your typical style of game, right?
Yep.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love the hell out of that game.
Cool.
I can't think of any flaws with that game.
So here's a question: have you played it since?
No, and I don't think I will. I don't want to tarnish that experience.
Okay. So the reason is because you had a really enjoyable experience, and you don't necessarily.
Yeah, I don't want to see where
you don't want to peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, I don't want to see where it's being a game.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I was thinking. I played it through that one time, and I don't really want to play through it again, because it would kind of cheapen that first experience.
Yeah.
I feel like the second time you play through it, you'll just be like, okay, now I got to get to this point, and then this thing happens, and then I'll make this different decision now, and you're just sort of exploring the whole game as a game rather than then
you would see how linear it is and how
But there is one thing I actually do want to do, and because there are so many dialogue options, they have a lot of options where you don't say. You can just not say anything, and I would be interested to see what happens if you go through the game not saying anything,
not replying to Delilah at all. Yeah. So there are a few things I want to explore, and the biggest obstacle for me is something you've raised, which is there's a lot of I think of it as work to get through.
Oh yeah.
To get through that exploration, like if I want to do a no dialogue playthrough. I assume have to hit all these objectives, and it's not any quicker than it was the first time I played it. I mean, because I was fairly direct in going to a lot of these places originally. I mean, I now can maybe run a little more between the locations, but like anytime I want to climb down one of those gravelly hills,
that'll take forever. Yeah,
that's like a full minute of my life, and I'm committing to that. So the improvement I wanted, I think I've mentioned this to you guys already. The improvement I would make to that game is in the chronology of the game. You go through the first few days, and then it jumps forward to like day 70 something. Like it jumps quite a ways ahead. And in the first few days, you are slow, and it takes a while to climb over logs and to climb down these gravelly hills by this rope and stuff. You are just because you're not super naturey. It makes sense that you're overweight. It makes sense that you're kind of clumsy in this environment. By day 70, whatever, I feel like your character should have gotten to the point where he's much better at navigating this environment.
Should be sprinting over those logs.
Yeah,
and just
like it shouldn't be a like 7-second animation of climbing over a rock. You should have a like 1 second animation where you're just you hop over it because and that to me that makes replaying it feel like less of a chore. It makes playing the later stages of the game feel more rewarding because it feels like your character has advanced. And I think it would have added a cleaner element to the time skipping forward as well. But that's just...
That would have been cool. I give these guys a huge pass because of their team size.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd just say that's a
fair point. Like it's I mean, ultimately they scoped the game however they want, right?
Yeah.
So it was still I think that's a criticism of mine and an improvement I would have made had I been in some way involved.
Yep.
But with the resources they had, which were limited, I think the game is really good. I've talked to other people who did not like the ending.
Really?
What did you guys think of the ending?
So I really liked the ending.
Can I talk about the arc? Like ask you guys about your arc?
Sure. Yeah.
With
Go
the
ahead.
game? So when I played it, you come out of the you're in where is that place? You're in the forest.
The forest?
Yeah. I forget
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Yeah.
So initially, talking with Delilah, I was very clammed up. That opening was so strong that I was just like, I'm not even going to talk. Like she's prodding.
Yeah, you don't want to flirt.
I'm just closed off.
Yeah, I was a little bit like that
I was
as
clammed
well,
up completely. And I think it actually reached a breaking point where she asked a question, and I was just like, I think at this point I was actually angry.
Yeah.
And I kind of just lashed out at her basically.
Okay.
And then she got pissed off. And then there was a bit of like...
Was this when she was talking to someone else on the radio and her radio was left on and you probed her about it?
I think so, yeah, around that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of opened up stuff between me and Delilah. Did you guys have similar experiences?
I sort of did, but instead of getting angry, she asked me something about my wife, and I was looking at the options, and I was like, I don't really like any of these options. And then the time ran out, and it just continued on as I didn't say anything. And I thought, that's actually really cool because as myself, I couldn't think of what to say, and the game just was like, oh, you can't think of anything to say. We'll just carry on.
Yeah, like such a Blake move right there.
What's that?
Such a Blake move.
The old Blake fade away.
Yeah, the old fade away. Yeah, but I thought because I was deep in thought, as my character would be deep in thought of how do I want to say, talk about my wife, and then it was a natural thing. Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool.
That is fantastic. Did you have a similar experience?
I don't really remember. I do remember. So in my arc, there was a increasing sense of paranoia, and that grew and grew and grew throughout the story, especially involving the two teens that went missing.
You guys were just a second ago talking about that whole time where she was on the radio with somebody else.
Yes.
So I didn't like probe into that, but that is definitely when paranoia started to creep in, because she was saying something like, "Why would I tell him that?" Or something, and then I'm just like, "What is?"
That's that's one part of the story that I don't think ever got.
It's probably just nothing
resolved.
I mean, it's probably just nothing, right?
Yeah, just talking with another.
Could be. Yeah. There's a few things. There was some sort of open-ended, some question marks by the end of the game that I feel like never got necessarily resolved. That's one of them. I also felt like the actual, I guess you could call it the ending twist, where you find out some of the sources of what's going on.
Yeah, you get through the gate, you get the key.
Yeah, but further than that,
when you actually find the hermits, like
and you find the hideout.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I still felt like there was more than met the eye there. But then I spoke to some people and they filled in some gaps that I still have some question marks. But for example, when you went to the fenced in area and you found the little research tent, and you find there's a page that has like 4 subjects on it, like a female and 3 males, and you think it's yourself and Delilah and 2 other males, and you're given the option of saying, oh, I think it's the twins, or it could be this father and son team, or it could be these 2 dudes from these letters.
Yeah, I thought it was the dudes from the letters. Because they were in other towers. I thought like.
So, speaking to Carl about this at work, his interpretation of it, which makes a lot more sense, is that those were just elk. Those were just deer and elk.
Oh,
it was just a research station.
And actually, that makes so much more sense.
And what was actually going on was there was this. Spoilers, of course.
Yeah, no, you should spoil. Go for it.
The guy whose son had died and who had been hiding out and who had been spying on you and listening, I think it's safe to say he's probably a little mentally ill.
Yeah,
he's been living alone for years. His son died, and he's afraid, and he was worried that you guys would find out, and he realized, because you guys had been talking so paranoidly about like this research area, he might be able to plant evidence there that makes it look like you're being researched in depth. And you find these pages in his hideout that really give credence to that. And it's just sort of coincidental that there are some elk that you happen to associate with your personality because the male eats too much and the female, whatever. Like, it's really clever that's where these 2 stories intersect. And I think I really enjoyed that. What I never understood was, where are those scientists?
No, didn't they explain that they only go there for a few months?
And they leave all their equipment there?
Yeah, that is a little odd that they do leave all their equipment there.
It's very, very expensive, delicate equipment.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in a fenced-off area, so,
No,
but the tent is wide open.
Yeah, that's just... And they leave all their stuff there as well. It's just all papers and like tracking equipment.
Yeah.
Apparently there are a lot of secrets I didn't find. Like there's a dead elk at some point that has a tracking
Really? I didn't see that.
Necklace around it, and there's some song lyrics in an outhouse. Did you find those?
An outhouse? The outhouse? That's by your...
No, there's a second outhouse. Did you find?
No, I didn't find that.
Second outhouse with some song lyrics, and if you find all the letters between those 2 guys, you can find a recording of the song for those lyrics for. And there's also just secret animals.
I found a raccoon.
Found the raccoon in the oven?
Yeah, I found that too. Whoa, in the oven?
Wait, what? In the oven?
Okay, you guys found a different raccoon.
Yeah, I found a raccoon out in the wild.
Okay.
And it was quite cool because I went to take a photo of it. And as I was like walking up to it, Delilah suddenly goes up, like shouts really loud on the radio going, pears, pears, pears. And
pears,
and it scares the raccoon away. And you're just like, what the hell was that? And she's like, oh, I'm just doing this crossword and I figured out the theme for it and it's pears. It's just like...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, this is one thing I loved about that game. And it touches on something that the extra credits guy brought up.
Yeah.
And it was, why are video game stories such garbage compared to, say, TV shows?
Sure.
And they broke it down to like dialogue per minute.
Yeah.
This TV show has content, like it's all character development constantly. And for video games, it's very hit or miss. Like you can actually have your character say something to reflect their character, but then it breaks some kind of connection you may have with your character.
Sure.
But with Firewatch, that walkie-talkie, it was pure context, like for your character too. So it was all character development, and you could actually walk, see a landmark, and ask Delilah and have that banter back and forth. I thought that walkie-talkie was brilliant.
Well, yeah, also the fact that you are often in charge of the information that is exchanged.
Yeah.
You find a scratched up tree, you can ask about it or not. And when you ask about it, it's you performing the action and driving the story forward, which is clever and keeps you involved and keeps you interested. One thing I really liked about if we're just talking about the story and the progression of the story, I was talking to Jonathan and Mike, 2 employees at Grinding Gear. Jonathan's not an employee; he's an employer. And we were discussing the storyline. He's one of the people who hated the ending.
Really?
Yes, and the reason is because my interpretation of what he was saying is because it was basically very mundane and
anticlimactic.
That's a huge anticlimax.
That's exactly why I liked it.
Right.
Though.
This is why I liked it as well. It was not easy writing to make it turn out that there are secret agents following you around and spying on you is really easy, and exactly where most video games would go because it's a cheap and easy way to keep the player involved and
it was the writers were definitely playing on your expectation of that, because you're playing a video game.
Yeah.
Of course, there's like a secret government facility somewhere that's like doing weird research.
Yeah, you're gonna pick up a gun and
it's to me it's like Lost. The show Lost.
I was thinking of that a little bit.
There's so many mysteries. Oh my god, I'm so intrigued. But there's no substance there. No.
But then
in the end,
the problem with Lost though is that the writers eventually just started making stuff up as they went along, and they didn't really have a master plan.
But that's what any writing job. Lost had other problems, but the crux of it is like supernatural stuff is very and like specialness is very easy to as a hook. What's hard is to make it grounded in real world.
Yeah, that's what I thought at the end. It felt more real. Like at the end, really what it came down to was you and Delilah working yourselves up, and
you are isolated.
Yeah,
you are dealing with a troubling situation. Your mind goes to the extreme places because you've got nothing else to think about.
And the hermit guy was just panicking because he didn't want to get found out, so he was trying to lead you in a different direction away from him. That just made it worse.
Yep. I really liked that ending for that reason. It was not the easy way out. Having the teenage girls turn up in the way that they did, I thought was really clever.
How do they turn up for you?
After they leave, you just find out that they had been arrested.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that I imagine that would be the same for everyone.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you had something else.
No.
Oh, you didn't find their corpses?
One of them was impaled on a tree. It was real creepy.
Yeah.
They're in the outhouse.
Their messed up tent earlier on in the game.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was one thing that was never really explored.
I assumed because in the Hermit's Cave you find all those teen magazines. So I assumed after the girls left, like they were drunk and stupid, they just went and left.
Yeah.
He just raided it.
Oh, one other thing I really, really loved was when I visited the lake, and like the very start of the game, the very first thing you do is you track down these 2 teens laying off fireworks at the lake. And
how'd you deal with that?
Well, I just yelled at them, whatever.
Oh, okay.
But I picked up their boombox and then threw it in the lake because I thought, I wonder if this works. And it shorts out the boombox.
Really?
And then later on, you have to admit that you threw their boombox in the lake.
Oh, really?
And then it is important to the story and results in Delilah saying something interesting.
Oh, cool.
Which I loved. It was a completely optional, not at all like indicated. There was nothing that said, hey, you can do this.
Yeah.
It was me just trying it, and that it had story consequences. It was awesome. That was, to me, was the highlight of the storytelling.
It's funny. I think that that part has a lot of like different ways that you don't really think to go through, because everyone I've spoken to has dealt with those teens in a different way. So for me, the first thing I did was pick up the radio, and then they saw me doing that, and they were shouting for me to drop it, and they said they'll stop lighting fireworks if I put it back. So I just put it back, and then they
just got real angry with me.
Oh, they still got kind of angry, but they still like went off.
Yeah, they call you a creep pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty quick. Which I think is interesting because did you pick up that the hermit guy had been creeping around the teens?
No, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think because you find that the teens had cut the communication wire. I think, and I think it's there where there's a letter from them that says you creeping around on us and doing something.
You find a letter on their tent.
Is it their tent?
Yeah,
yeah.
And you also there's like a spray painted note on the near the cut wire.
Yeah. But that hermit guy was definitely like
my interpretation had been that there was a case of mistaken identity between yourself and the hermit.
Yeah, for sure.
Those girls, they thought there was one ranger. There was two people. Yeah. You just trying to get them to stop lighting fireworks, and the hermit creeping around, being a creepy dude. Did
you pursue Delilah to meet you towards the end?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. The thing with her is like, man, the ending is like, because you kind of like, I want to
start
a new relationship with this woman and forget about my...
I didn't go that far.
Well, something, right? You want to meet them at least, or something.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. It was a meet.
Yeah.
Like, I took the wedding ring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I took it. You're not going to just leave a wedding ring to burn in the fire.
It's interesting. When did the wedding ring come off?
I don't know. I never noticed.
I think it's at the start of the day, but when you're about to leave the place, you notice it's on the table.
Yeah. I think I may have even picked it up earlier than that. There was definitely a point at which your character takes the wedding ring off, and I couldn't figure out when that was.
Yeah, no, I didn't even notice it until I saw that it was on the table, and I was like, oh, he's not even wearing it.
One thing I thought was neat was when you first go into the cave, and the door gets shut behind you.
Oh yeah.
So actually, this is another question mark for me. That door shuts behind you. Is that the hermit doing that? Because he's now leading you directly to the body, which is the thing he was trying to prevent you from seeing in the first place, right?
Yeah, it is a little strange.
And instead you find like the hideout. Before you find the hideout, I don't know if you guys noticed this. There's a part where there's like, you're inside the cave. There's a light shining down through a hole above and down into the bowels of the cave. Yep. And you can look down, and between yourself and like the very bottom of the cave, there's a little platform with some red object on it.
It's a shoe.
Yes, it is a shoe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't even notice that.
It's a shoe, and I didn't know it was a shoe until I found the body on the second time you come through the cave.
Oh, yeah.
No, I saw the shoe.
Yeah,
close up. I think the first time you go through it.
Yeah. Oh, how close up?
Very close up.
Like you could walk past it?
It's all, yeah. You climb down a couple of things. You put a couple ropes down.
Oh, no, because was this the first time you went through the cave?
Oh, did you double back through the cave?
Yeah, you go through it a second time, and that's when you find the body.
Yeah. But so I knew that I had seen there was a red object from a distance, and I figured out it was a shoe after I found the body missing the shoe. So it's interesting that
see the shoe. Yeah,
you got to double back and check it out.
Yeah, man.
I want to play it again, but at the same time,
you don't.
It's just so much time involved.
It's the kind of game that I wish I could forget everything about, so I could play it again for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's a good game to introduce, like a friend who's not a quote unquote gamer, or your parents who are just curious about what you do.
Yeah,
that's a game that I think, after they get over the hurdle of like first person navigation and keyboard navigation and just the sort of troubles of just interacting with the game, that's a game that I think really shows the strength of the medium, or at least one aspect of the medium, the storytelling and the personal involvement in the story.
That's pretty good.